Welcome to another episode of Crypto at Night. Tonight is actually a very special episode for me. Tonight is Here are a few of my favorite things. Tonight I'm going to be talking about a few projects that I really have an interest in, that I've been following, that I think are interesting, and that I've been checking out. I just want to kind of provide some brief information about them, my experience with them, and maybe you can check them out, see if you like them, give me some feedback, let me know what you think about them. Also, important part, this time, make sure you subscribe. Yes, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow, leave me your comments, your notes. I want to make sure that this is relevant for you. We want to make this show just as much about you as it is about me going to bed at night. All right, so let's get this started. Here are a few of my favorite things. I think we're going to start with first what's called the basic attention token. Do I have your attention? Do I have your attention? See, because right now, the way that we use the internet, we know that ads are a major part of how they function. I mean, everywhere there's ads. When you search the page, when you go to a new page, ads. So basically, what happened is some of the people that created, I believe it was JavaScript, decided they want to create a new browser, and that one's called Brave. And on this browser, they've blocked third-party ads. They just blocked them. And that's great, but then how are they going to make sure people make money off their pages? How are they going to make sure the internet functions as it's been working the last few years? I mean, because historically there was a choice, right? I mean, we could have the internet where everything costs money, we pay directly, but we decide, okay, hey, we need free access to this information, exchange of information, but people have to make money. So they decide, okay, well, if people are on my page, I have a lot of people looking at it, let me throw an ad on there, make some money from that. So that became the way of making money on the internet. Ads. That's the lifeblood. That's the drug that keeps things moving on the internet. Ads. But the Brave browser blocks third-party ads. So that means there has to be another way to make money. What they said was, let's create a new cryptocurrency, a new token that leverages this ability to block ads, but actually pay people when they do see ads. Basically, pay them for their attention. That's BAT, the basic attention token. It's a blockchain-based digital advertising cryptocurrency. So it was the people that created JavaScript and the co-founders of Mozilla and Firefox came together to make this. So really it's about you putting together users, advertisers, and publishers inside of a way that there's actually a revenue sharing and a shared interest between the different parties. So, short things first, fast things last. To make things short, we're going to say to make things short, download the Brave browser. It's actually faster than Chrome. And it has all the same extensions as Chrome. Download it, give it a look, check it out. See if it's faster. See if you like it. And then also make sure you use the wallet because you'll eventually get paid for seeing the ads you was going to see anyways. So that's crazy awesome. I mean, I don't know what really gets better than that. So that's just one of my favorite things, at least in the blockchain space. So that's BAT, the basic attention token. Now, a couple episodes ago, I believe I talked about DeFi, not defiance, but decentralized finance. And there's a few projects in this space that really interest me, that I really like. One of them is called Makerdown. So Makerdown was interesting. It actually has a multi-token system, which I'm not a fan of. But it works really well. What they really want to do was want to create a stable coin. And a stable coin is really saying, how do we have money that maintains its value, that doesn't fluctuate like Bitcoin? So what they did was they said, okay, if you have Ether, or Ether is the gas for Ethereum. If you have Ether, you can actually lock your Ether up. And then you can say, okay, well, a portion of that I'm going to create into DAI. So you actually use that as collateral to mint or create new DAI. And a DAI is worth 1. So basically, let's say I put in 10,000 Ethereum. I might be able to $1,000 worth of Ethereum. I might be able to create $7,500 of DAI. So I create that and I lock the Ethereum. And as long as the value of Ethereum stays where it is or appreciates, then I can just use that DAI and then pay it back eventually. I have to pay some interest on it too as well. But if the value of Ethereum starts to fall and I fall below a certain threshold of a margin or of kind of a protection, then my Ethereum that I had locked gets burnt. I still have that DAI, but because the value of Ethereum dropped down, that gets burnt. So there's just a DAI in the system. But basically, that's the kind of stable coin system they have. It's a very heavily collateralized, stable value system. So I don't think that's really viable, like on the larger term, like larger scale for everybody. But it is a really good way of having money when you have a little bit of money. There was actually a debt that I wanted to pay recently, and I was like, okay, I have this Ethereum. I believe the value is going to go up, but I'm going to lock a little bit so I can get some money so I can pay off this debt. And I did that. And the value of Ethereum went up. I used the risen value of Ethereum to pay off the debt. And so I had a little bit less Ethereum than I started with. But overall, I was able to pay off my debt and hold my Ethereum and wait for the rise. That was a win-win situation. I don't think it gets much better than that. Downside, if Ethereum goes down, you lose it. So, I mean, I like Makerdown. I mean, it's an interesting structure. It's considered what a decentralized autonomous organization as well. It's also supported by this makers and takers system, oracles who actually check the prices across a variety of different exchanges, as well as this maker system for governance. It's called Maker Token, and that's for deciding what the rates are for interest and whatnot. And interest is kind of high right now. It's like 16%. Like, that's pretty high. That's not really attractive. So I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of all. But if you're on Ethereum, if you have a MetaMask wallet, I encourage you to check it out. See if it's something that you might want to use. Makerdown and their stablecoin DAI. It kind of maintains the peg to $1 pretty well. Even when the prices drop crazy, it's only like lost maybe 2 cents off the dollar. And that's because it's heavily collateralized. So you have to remember that. It's heavily collateralized. So that's one of my favorite things. Another DeFi project I like is called Dharma. And they say, experience magical internet money. Lend, borrow, and experience crypto on Dharma. So basically what they do is they actually are creating a system of really lending. Right now they're looking at 10% interest or APR on basically loans that you can make on their network. And basically they think debt is an important component of cryptocurrency and blockchain development. And they're building out the protocols so that debt-related services can exist. You have debt when you buy houses, debt for loans, for like personal and business loans. So they're building out that system. It's really just peer-to-peer lending, and they kind of have a collateralized system with oracles, and they're allowing people to figure out how they want to underwrite it and determine risk. They have a lot of similarities to how I kind of approach the digital reserve, except for they have a heavy focus on collateralized lending, whereas I think the real space to delve into is uncollateralized lending. But the work they've done is phenomenal. I really love their product. It actually was created by this guy named Nadav Hollander, I believe. Good work. Dharma. If you're looking for a loan in cryptocurrency, you have a little bit. That's another option. Dharma. It's one of my favorite things. And then I think I mentioned DYDX. Sounds like a mathematical equation because, with integers and then derivatives. And that's specifically what they make. The derivatives, that's their goal, is to be able to do margin trading and derivatives. And they just have a lot of interesting designs about having to be able to short and long tokens with actually their service. So if you think Ethereum is going to go down, you can actually create a short token that represents the expectation of Ethereum's value going down. And if it goes down, it's a 1-to-1 reflection of your value. I mean, it's kind of complicated, kind of technical, but if you kind of try to get fancier in your trading, but use kind of a decentralized service, I think DYDX is pretty interesting. I've used it a couple times, more so for my longer perspective on Ethereum. But remember, this is not trading advice. This is just some of my favorite things. Another favorite thing is, I don't know about you, but I love technology. I mean, I love VR, like virtual reality. I have these daydream glasses, and my son, Levi, he loves wearing them. It's so funny. Like, he puts them on, and then he gets so immersed, and he starts walking around the house because he's trying to get into the environment. And it's just cool. I mean, when you put on those glasses that cover your face, and you're just in a new world, I mean, it's just like reading. Like, reading transports you. I think VR has that same capability to transport you to a new place. So as we continue to develop out virtual reality technology, we have to think about the assets that exist in these spaces, the economics of these spaces that we're going to interact with as we interact with other people and property, and we make things, and we fight these battles. I mean, what does these worlds going to look like? What are going to be the rules guiding them? And a lot of this blockchain-related cryptocurrency technology is going to be really relevant. I don't know if you remember Second Life, but it was incredibly valuable. People's creating whole lives inside this virtual space. And this was just on PCs and web. So imagine being able to immerse yourself inside a new place and be someone or do something different, create something new, or just start a whole new world, a dazzling place I never knew. No, seriously. But you're out here and you're creating new stuff, and how does this fit? So there's two projects, those projects that I like in regards to virtual reality and the interplay between cryptocurrencies. The first one is called Vibe Hub. Basically, they're really focused on the ability to have social interactions and create a marketplace for people to exchange and create content, and then really have this meeting space. It's basically one of the first VR and AR marketplaces and hubs for the blockchain, and it's down in LA, so they really focus on that content, and it's supported by a couple of men of color brothers, and I'm like, all right, you better build. So yeah, that's Vibe Hub, vibehub.io. Check it out. That's one of them. The other is called Decentraland. I am a fan of Decentraland because what they did was they said, okay, let's create a virtual landmass and people can actually eventually develop on it, but let's sell those land. Let's make it scarce. And then that scarcity is going to be what our new Second Life, our new virtual reality play space is going to exist of. What's there is that's it. There won't be any real expansion to that. We're going to build from this. And I think that was novel. That was interesting. They was bringing the economics to actually real estate into a virtual landscape. So they're still developing a lot of the content. We just had the ability to create avatars recently. But people are building. I've actually got a little plot for the Digital Reserve. It's called the Digital Reserve Financial Center. Currently we have a little fake ATM and then a little place to sit and I think a mailbox there. We're going to build some stuff in the future. It'll be interesting. But I'm really excited to see where Decentraland goes, to see what kind of content people make, what kind of experiences. Are there going to be adventures? Is it going to be a social space? Is it going to be puzzles? What's going to happen there? It's interesting because all of it's going to have value connected to it. You're going to be able to do transactions around these locations. And there's big blocks and districts that are focused on certain things. Yeah, to Decentraland. Decentraland, by the way, decentralization land. Get it? So Decentraland. Very interested in that one. That's another of my favorite things. Another one is around games. So I really like video games. I've been waiting for something that really floated my boat in regards to gaming potential. See, there was a thing called CryptoKitties that it was kind of like Tamagotchis, maybe, except for it was around breeding. So you get a CryptoKitty and another CryptoKitty, and you can merge them and breed them together and get a new one, and then the rarity had value. It did very well, made quite a bit of money. It actually congested the entire Ethereum blockchain for a while. Like the fees and the cost to run during that time was really high. But it did well, and it really introduced this idea of around collectibles to people, like where they said, blockchain, you can create collectible items and assets. It's not just money, it's things. You can create like art and make it make it like originals and have a collectible nature. Say, hey, this is the authentication of you owning this piece of art, and that's yours, and that's how we know. And trading that and doing fractional ownership around that. So it introduces a lot of concepts, but that's not the project I was interested in. CryptoKitties existed. I'd actually end up getting one. I wish I would have got some because the values were crazy. But I missed out on that one. But one thing I did like recently that just came out is called Gods Unchained. And for me, I really like trading card games. I like being able to do like battles where you put out the cards. I play this game called Shadow War used to on my Android. I did pretty good for a while, and then I started losing like crazy. I mean, I wasn't really investing enough in my card decks, making sure it was balanced right, and I didn't get the newest cards. But anyways, Gods Unchained. It's a new trading card game. I think it's running on the Ethereum network, and basically, it's a beautiful design game. They have really beautiful cards. Kind of reminds you of like Magic the Gathering or a lot of the other type of card games that exist out there. Except for that they have a new rule. They have their own unique rule set, new design and mechanics, and all the cards are collectibles. However, there is a distinction. There's a free tier, which are locked cards to your account, and then there's a paying for your pack tier, where those are tradable. And then there's like a card, I think it was sold recently for $62,000 because there's only one of those cards. And so they auction it off. And that's just crazy amazing. And the card is the most powerful card, but it's unique and that has value. So basically you have these two tiers of cards, locked and unlocked, but you also have tournaments. So they're going to have their first tournament. It's called the World Championship. And there's already $435,000 in the pot for this tournament. Because these are blockchain cryptocurrency design systems, you can create the incentive mechanisms to make them work. And what they did was they said 10% of all pack sales are going towards the World Championship. So they're trying to raise $1.6 million to go towards that tournament prize pool. And here's the crazy part. To get tickets to participate in the tournament there's tickets that are actually collectibles as well that have already been distributed. And if you want one, you have to buy it. So if you think you're good at strategy or you think you could become good at strategy, you might want to check out Gods Unchained. It's just a card game, but potential for a whole lot of money. And it's fun. I enjoyed it. I've been testing it out, getting a little bit of look because I'm building something out with some friends that I think is really going to rock the whole non-fungible token collectible game type things. I'll provide more information about that in the future. But yeah, this was a good vision about what's to come. So godsunchained.com. I would check it out if you're into games. And that's one of my favorite things. And now my last one for today, which is around what matters to me the most, organizations and community. How do you use cryptocurrencies, these tokens, these designs, these networks to be able to work together to create something empowering? Oh, I thought you was going to tell me the answer. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I think. One of the ways of doing this is Eragon. So Eragon is actually a blockchain that's focused on, I'll just read what it said. Eragon empowers you to freely organize and collaborate without borders or intermediaries. Create global, bureaucracy-free organization, companies, and communities. Basically, what they're allowing you to do is you can automate your processes. You can actually design the way that you handle voting, budgets, payments, and just the whole suite of things that you do within working with other people. So this becomes a great unifier of governance, a way of operating whatever you're doing, whether it's your community, whether it's a government, whether it's an organization. Eragon is potentially the future of organizational operations. And I've really been looking at how we can integrate this into a lot of my projects. I think it's amazing. It's still developing. They still have a lot of ways to go around the UI and around drawing people in. But man, if you're talking about community organizing and having a system that's robust and thought through and automated, that doesn't require you to invest a whole lot of time into micromanaging every component, I think that this is the evolution of what you can use, because creating an organization just costs a little bit of money. And Whereas when we talk about creating a business in the United States, you might spend $300, $500 to create that business. But on here, you might be able to create an organization for $2. And while not necessarily registered inside the United States, it's functioning and it's viable and it's global, and you can reduce your bureaucracy because you've set all the processes. So I highly recommend Eragon. Built-in transparency, democracy, if that's the way you want it to operate, or if not, you can design it another way. I mean, Eragon, decentralized governance, a methodology that's hopefully robust. I think Eragon is really, really cool and interesting. So those were a few of my favorite things. I hope you take an opportunity and some chances to check them out. Give them a little taste. See if it's something that you're interested in. And once again, don't forget to subscribe. If there's something that you have a question about, something you want to learn more about, please post. Reach out to me. I'm here to serve you. So sleep well, sleep tight. This is Crypto at Night.